Hey, this is Dave Anderson, and welcome to another edition of the best Klondike. And this happens to be one of my favorite stations. It's Nome, Alaska, and it is the Matchless fire starting. When the participants arrive at the Matchless fire starting, Nome, Alaska, they will be given 3 poles with a twist disc. We'll show you how to use that. And the twist disc has a piece of 550 cord and a chain with a clasp on it. And they'll have a soup can with a little hanger on it, and their task is to boil some water. They accomplish this by, of course, starting a fire without the use of matches. And we'll get into that in just a minute. As the patrol enters the campsite, or the town, they will greet the mayor in the usual way, the greeting, and then the mayor will ask who the patrol leader is, and once that's identified, then the mayor will then read off a script, and the script will go just like this. Welcome to Nome, Alaska, the Matchless fire starting. Gentlemen, create a fire without the use of matches by using friction or spark devices. No chemical reaction fires between two volatile substances are allowed. No lighters. Build upon that spark into a wood-burning fire and bring 1 cup of water to a soft boil. You may use char cotton and cedar bark, steel wool and a battery, magnesium and striker, magnifying glass, cotton balls and chapstick, etc. You may not decrease the amount of water that is in the can. If using Vaseline as a fire starter, no more than 1/4 teaspoon shall be used. It should be used for fire starting only and not fire fuel. The fire must be a wood fire. Soaking the wood in petroleum products is ground for disqualification. The use of windbreaks, rain shelters, and the like are encouraged. If a matchless fire cannot be created, and if matches or a lighter is used, a maximum of 10 points for the completion of the task can be obtained. This is a timed event with the top 5 patrols gaining extra points for speed. You will be provided a tripod with a cup hanging from a string and chain. So we're going to set up the twist disc. Now, this is the twist disc. I got 3 equal sized poles, and they go inside the hole. Now, this has 550 cord, but it has a chain attached to it, and it also has a little metal hook. And this is because it gets close to the fire. If the 550 cord gets close to the fire, it'll get really hard because it'll melt. So this kind of helps it survive the fire. And of course I can lift this up to increase the distance that the pot is hanging from the fire, and use these as a means to hold it in place. So that's what these little notches are for. But to put the twist disc on, you just put these 3 poles inside here like this. Get them spread apart. And then all you have to do is twist, and it locks everything into place. And like I said, I can use this to increase or decrease the size or the distance between the fire and the pot that I'm trying to boil with. So here is the cup that we use. It's just a soup can, and it has a little hanger on it. So this is how you actually hang the water over the fire. And I'm just going to put it up a little bit higher for right now and attach it in so it doesn't go anywhere. I can just put the rest of the stuff up here. Now this is where I'm going to want to build my fire, and We'll get into that in just a minute, but this is where the water goes, and this is the pot that you have to boil the water in. So we'll get a little close-up of what everything looks like here. So for the fire bundle, this is what I've seen some patrols do ahead of time. I mean, you definitely want to bring some kind of dry wood with you. And these are kind of, I'm just going to show you one style that I have seen. They just have a plank of wood, and they just use some wood glue. And what they pretty much do is just build a wall, or build a circular kind of structure that all of their kindling and whatnot will fit into. And so in this respect, you have, if the ground is real wet, you have a area that you can keep the tinder and whatnot off of the ground by way of this plank of wood. And then each of these blocks is, of course, fuel. And you don't really, I mean, you don't want to put them together very tightly because you also want oxygen to come into it. So, and of course, I'm just using wood glue, so that there's no nails, any of that kind of stuff to contaminate the fire. You're not going to get poked with anything, or it's going to get rusty. And realistically, all you got to do is just get this put together haphazardly. Actually, you can see I'm just slapping it together real quick. This wood glue, when it dries, it'll all hold together, and should have no problem. You're only boiling just a scant little bit of water, so you don't have to have a giant. I mean, this actually is tall enough, and it will do just fine. This will not even burn, maybe even 10% by the time the water is boiled. So once all this dries, then you can start putting in your whatever you're going to use. Maybe it's cedar bark, bits of cedar bark that is pretty oily, and I'll show you a couple other techniques that we use as well. All right, so here is a rope, a scrap piece of rope that we actually made this out of baling twine. Rope actually looks really good. It almost looks like a store-bought, but it's actually it's not. It's made from Scouts. We have a homemade rope machine, but all you do is just unwind it. You can see the little bits of sisal, and I'm unwinding it so I can get a whole bunch of aeration, and I'm just going to start packing it in here. And we'll put this in fast motion for you so that you can get through this a little bit quicker. You don't want to pack it down in there too tight. But this sisal, it'll go to a flame real quick. There's not a whole lot of fuel in this. There's a lot of, it's airy, but you kind of want it airy at the very bottom. I'm just going to add a little bit of cedar bark in there next. All right, so this is a dry cedar bark. You can tell, you see it's all kind of, I mean, it is so dry, there's actually a dust cloud coming up off of this. And cedar is great because it has all these little fibers. You can see all the fibers coming off. You just kind of rub them together, and they break apart, and it's almost like hair-like fibers. And believe it or not, this type of stuff will take a spark without even having any char cotton or anything else. It will go up quick. So there's a whole bunch there. There's plenty of fuel. It's very aerated. And about the only thing that I would add to that, and of course this is your bird nest. The only thing that I would add to this is probably a cotton ball with a little bit of Vaseline. And right on top of that, I might have, or right next to it, I might have some char cotton. But either way, if the cotton ball doesn't take off, the char cotton will. I'll be able to blow it right into a flame, and this will start a very vigorous fire. Okay, so this is basically just dry cedar bark, and like I said, sometimes it will take a spark and go right into flame. Let's see if we can make that happen. There we go. Come on, come on. There we go. Hey, hey. Anyway, you can see that it's possible. I have to aerate this just a little bit more, but it did actually start a flame just with cedar bark, so it is possible to make that happen. You know, this is why you don't allow, or the rules are you don't have very much chapstick. It's primarily supposed to be a wood fire. So I just want to show you That's how much chapstick that you need per one sheet of toilet paper even. A lot of people think, you know, hey, I need a cotton ball, I need a cotton. No, you don't. Just that much. Okay, that is like not even a quarter teaspoon. Okay, now all I'm going to do is mush this all up inside here. I'm just going to start tearing it apart. Now as I tear it apart, it does two things. Not only does it mix the Vaseline that is in the chapstick, but it also aerates this paper. I'm going to just start tearing it bit by bit, just tearing it apart, and allowing the smaller pieces that I've torn, especially if they're shredded, to fall down to the surface. This is something you definitely want to do outside. I'm in the garage, I'm literally outside in 5 steps. It's kind of windy out there. I don't want this blowing all over the place. Okay, I don't want to pack it down, you just want to keep it nice and loose. And I would get a knife that you don't use the knife part of it, but you can use the back part of it, and that's what this knife is used for. Then of course you're going to need to do it on the shiny side, not where it's already tarnished, because where it's tarnished, oxygen has got to it, it's oxidized, and you can't spark anything until you get it shiny. And there we go, voila. There's a fire. You see how easy that was, and there was just a little bit of chapstick and a little bit of toilet paper, and you can even tell, even inside the garage here, I've got a breeze coming from outside. That does last a good long time. You can see it's probably into it 20 seconds already, and it's still got a pretty good flame. I've timed it before, and it will last about a minute before it completely goes out. Still going. And it's out. All right, I'm going to do the same thing. Tearing it apart. The more time that you spend with this, and make sure that it's nice and tore apart, and not all bunched up, because it's the fibers that it's on the paper that are actually going to catch. And once it catches, then it starts burning the Vaseline that's in the chapstick. All right, before it gets too windy again. Oh, there we go, second try. Then all we have to do is lower the can over the flame. Of course, there's a lot of wind out here, so it's going to go up pretty fast. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this can up. That was just for demonstration purposes only. And obviously you can do a lot of other things, like add some pitch and some other wood product, but as you can see, it's going like crazy. That cedar bark really burns really well because it has a lot of oil in the bark, and all of that sisal is actually, I can look down inside of it, all that sisal is already burnt up at the very bottom. It wasn't quite so windy. Of course, you could have a windbreak around here too. And I didn't wait for the glue to dry either. So you can see it'll burn very vigorously. Okay, so here's the wind block. It's just a popcorn tin, bunch of holes cut in the very bottom. And you just stick it right over the top. And what it'll do is you can stick your can right down inside there, and it won't blow your flame away, blow all your heat away. It'll basically just go right up this chimney. Holes in the bottom, of course, are to let the oxygen in. So as you can see with the chimney, you get a much cleaner burn right at the very top. You just got to be careful about touching that chimney after it's got done burning. But you can see how you can stick that can right inside there, and it will boil really quick. All of the rest of the wood is caught on fire. I mean, it was practically out. All I did was stick a little bit of cedar bark in there, blow on it twice, and it was going again. Now that I put the chimney on there, the wood, those little wood chunks are now burning vigorously. They're on fire, and it don't look like it's going to go out either. It's going well. That'll show you the difference between having the chimney on there and not. It's still fairly windy, so it's blowing all of the heat off to one side, and it's not quite as vigorous anymore. And when this was put on there, you can really hear it. Hear the difference? Once again, make sure that you don't touch that for a while because it's going to be hot.